Alright guys, what's going on? It's Jack and welcome back to another video. So, yeah, for a lot of places around this time of year are about less than a week away from going on Christmas vacation for about a couple of weeks. Especially if you're in the game development industry. So, this actually includes the higher-ups like the CEOs and all that kind of stuff. Which includes one individual that goes by the name of Bobby Kotick. So, now, Phil is going to be taking over that spot once Bobby leaves. And as a matter of fact, Phil asked Bobby to stay because, presuming because Phil basically wanted to go around and visit the studios firsthand, in person, and have a bunch of interesting conversations with all those studios. And I'm very sure that both as a fan and as a person who is in the gaming industry in the position that he is, in the positions that he's been in as well in the past before he got into the position where he's at today, and then the position he's going to be going into very soon, he knows, you know, from a both fan perspective and as well as a gamer himself. So I mean, he's already stated that he's pretty much a fan of all these studios and all the games and stuff like that, and he wants to see what they're working on, and of course have some conversations about important things. Now there are probably going to be some people that are thinking that some change is not going to happen after Phil takes over and it's going to be business as usual, just a different guy in charge. And there are others that are hopeful that change will happen. Now, one thing that is for sure, as far as the development side is concerned, I think it's going to be an improvement, which could, of course, you know, inspire and make things happen, and it'll show in game, right? Because if everything in-house is going very well, then it will show in your game, right? Or games. So at least that's what we can hope for. And Phil has shown interest in indie developers. He has shown interest in letting developers do what they want to do and be creative and let that creativity fly. And this is where things get interesting, because a developer like Sledgehammer Games, for instance, has pitched Advanced Warfare 2 twice now, and they've been shut down both times. They wanted to bring Pick 10 back into Modern Warfare 3. They were shut down by Infinity Ward in that aspect, because, well, it's a Modern Warfare game, so therefore it's Infinity Ward's thing, and Sledgehammer Games just happens to be making it, blah blah blah. So they're limited to what Infinity Ward allows them to do and all that stuff or whatever. Anyway, so now with Phil coming in, the question I have for you guys is: are you expecting change? And of course, if so, what kind of change? And if so, when do you guys think we're going to see change? Because, like, for instance, I'm going to give you another really good example. Look at Halo Infinite right now. Halo Infinite has made a solid 180 in terms of its trajectory of where it was headed into where it is now. And about a year or so ago, give or take, the head of 343, Bonnie Ross, and then the other higher-ups like Kiki Wolfkill and Frank O'Connor basically left or were fired. I don't know. I don't remember. But basically those guys were gone, and then they put the guy that was in charge of the Master Chief Collection that brought that game back from, you know, the terrible release that it had back in 2014, and they put him in charge of Halo Infinite. And ever since then, obviously it took months. However, if you look at Halo Infinite now in terms of how often the game is getting content and the kind of content that it is getting, even with a little bit of increased transparency between the developers and the community as well, there's been a pretty decent amount of change. And it all starts with the higher ups. It all starts with the people that are in higher positions. And of course, you know, the fact that Bobby is going to be leaving, and he's probably going to, I don't know, my assumption is he's probably going to go on quote unquote vacation after this Friday. And that should pretty much be his last day, because come January, that's it. I mean, he was going to stay until January, and then that's it. And then Phil is basically going to take over, and then somebody else is going to be taking over Phil's current spot. So actually, if you think about it, Phil's actually getting a promotion as far as that's concerned. So I really want, I want more arcade shooters on the market, obviously. And I truly do believe that franchises like Call of Duty and XDefiant can certainly exist, and there is certainly room for more, and I would love to see that in many different forms. And Phil, as I've mentioned earlier, is also a fan of indie developers. He's not just a fan of letting people create, but he's also a fan of indie developers. And the thing that comes to mind is, man, would it be amazing if Phil were to bring back the team at SM2 or SM Squared? That would be great, and maybe even expand upon what they did by giving them some some help, you know, or even giving them a budget. I know they were doing it completely free. It was only like 4 people or something like that, give or take, I guess. Doing it for free, doing it out of sheer passion. It was going to be for PC only, so it's like, well, what if we could expand upon that? What if we can take that concept and expand upon that? If anything, they might. One thing that makes sense to me is like they may not keep the SM Squared name or the SM2, you know, title. They might just call it something else, and they may make it a live service, classic, free-to-play Call of Duty and put that out there. Kind of like how COD Mobile is for mobile. They could seriously do something like that with console and PC crossplay with all the bells and whistles, and with the guys that were in charge of SM2 or SM Squared behind the helm. I think that would be great. With additional developers, because you know Microsoft has them. So, and I'm sure that there's going to be people among the different development studios that would lovingly volunteer and willingly volunteer to help out those guys. So this is really some of the most interesting time, I think. This upcoming year is going to be one of the most interesting times in Call of Duty. And also, it's good time as well as far as Treyarch's next game is concerned, and we're going to see how that ends up. Now, granted, these last 2 years or so have been under, you know, Bobby Kotick, you know, in terms of the Treyarch game. But at the same time, Treyarch has had a 4-year development cycle, so let's make that 3 years now for Treyarch, and then after that, you know, this final year would be the 4th year by the time the game releases. So I think this is why people. Well, again, Phil taking over could be a reason why people are excited, but a lot of people are excited because they've had 4 whole years. But again, if Phil gives these guys the freedom, which I think he will, I think Call of Duty is going to be in a very interesting spot, and I think the possibilities are there. However, as a fan and as a content creator, sometimes my excitement and imagination goes a little too far, and that is where you guys come in. And sometimes you guys, your perspective kind of puts me back into reality, so to speak. So I want to know what you guys think when it comes to this. Are you expecting any changes? And if so, what kind and when and all that stuff? Let me know. So with that being said, that concludes this little shorter video, and I hope you enjoyed it. And thank you all very much for taking the time to watch and or listen, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.